Where can we head next in this confrontation? Vipin Narang, in your piece for War on the Rocks, you actually look at India's military options and suggest what could happen if each of those options were pressed into service. Why don't you share that with our audience right now, and then I'll go across to the other guests and get their sense of where this confrontation may go militarily. Let's start with Vipin Narang.
Yeah, thanks. So the first order of business is to stop the bleeding, right? So we've discussed this on the program before. You know, the Indian Army can't afford any deeper incursions or ingresses where the Chinese are already made advances, and it can't afford additional fronts. So adopting a deterrent posture is the first order of business. It seems that the Indian Army and military have essentially done that already and have stanched the bleeding, so to speak. Then the question is, how do you restore the status quo from early May, mid-April? And there the options look a little bleaker. You can evict the Chinese forces directly, but the problem is that the Chinese have not taken these positions just willy-nilly. These are positions that are probably defensible. They're increasingly fortified, and the Chinese have brought strength in numbers and depth. They've brought firepower. And evicting them, is difficult. In domestic law, possession is 9/10 of the law. In international politics, possession is the entire law. So evicting the Chinese may not be as easy as it sounds. The other option is, to pull a Chumar in 2014 and basically seize territory in, that the Chinese claim, and then trade it for the pieces that China has taken recently. The problem with that is that the Chinese have probably identified those positions and fortified and defended points of vulnerability also. So that's not as easy as it sounds, and it risks vertical or horizontal escalation if the Indians have to hit behind Chinese lines, across the line of actual control, or directly on it. And then the final option is some sort of negotiated settlement, where the Chinese have likely, in my view, this is something that the Indians, I think, need to prepare for. The government of India needs to prepare for. The Chinese have likely ingressed in quote-unquote excess areas that they don't intend to keep, but which they'll trade away to look reasonable, but then lock down on the positions that they want to keep. And let's take, for example, Galwan and Depsang. So it's possible that the Chinese have made incursions there, but don't intend to stay, and will withdraw to look reasonable, but then not budge an inch in Pangong Lake. And the question is whether the government of India can accept that change to the status quo. And frankly, I think that's probably the most likely strategy that the Chinese have, which is they're pushing at multiple places. They intend to release at some of them, but hold on to the ones they deem most critical.
General Hasnain, when Kargil happened, India pushed back, fought to reclaim land that had been usurped by the Pakistani terrorists and the Mujahideen and the Pakistani army. In this current situation, does it make sense for India to try and push the Chinese back militarily? That will be a bloody and expensive battle. Or do you think just locking in for an intense face-off, prolonged standoff, and then some kind of a disengagement through negotiation? How would you look at the options that Vipin laid out? What do you think makes sense?
Yeah, very interesting options given out by Mr. Vipin Narang, no doubt. To my mind, QPQ, which is quid pro quo, could have been done at the outset, right at the beginning, when incursions or whatever was taking place at that time were not too deep or were not so intense. At that time, India could have done something on identified territories, but as he very correctly says, those territories today have been identified by the Chinese. Probably they are ready. In case we try to do something, they will obviously take very, very quick action to evict us. The second thing is eviction, physical eviction, and proactively doing it. Not as a response to a Chinese trigger, but ourselves going and doing it. Normally this is not usually done when the strength is generally a little asymmetric. Strength, when I say strength, it is overall capability, it is all overall technology, etc. In the sense you don't want to escalate. And if you escalate at all, you want the escalating ladder to be under your control, as it happened in the case of Balakot and it happened in the case of surgical strikes. So I don't see a proactive Indian strategy to actually carry out eviction unless there is a trigger which is already taking place, and then the Indian side will go all out. And last of all is the one which I would say is the most likely one. The Chinese come, they wish to stay on in certain areas which give them a decided tactical operational advantage. Now, I'm not sure it's a trade-off between Galwan, the Depsang Plains, the Hot Spring area, and Pangong Tso. Pangong Tso, to my mind, and I've commanded my battalion in that area 25 years ago, there is no doubt the ground offers a tremendous amount of advantage there. Both north of the Pangong Tso and the efforts to try and come down to the south of the Pangong Tso. So, to my mind, that is the crucial area on which India has to focus and emphasize in the negotiations which are going on at the moment. But to take unilateral military action, to my mind, is a long call still.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.